Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to the Soul Man Surgery. I'm Gina Verica, and today I am interviewing the Soul Man himself, Stephen Cranston. I'm looking forward to it, and we're talking about spiritual guidance and why people seek it. Okay, hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, Gina.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Great, so lovely to see you, Stephen. You're on the other side this today.
I know, it's funny being on this side of things, and I feel quite vulnerable, actually. Don't like it.
I'll be nice.
Thank
Great.
you.
So, Stephen, so today we're talking about what you do. It's your big thing, spiritual guidance. It's what the shop's based on. It's a big part of who you are. So, so I'm really looking forward to chatting to you about this. I guess I'd like to start, if it's okay, by asking, so why do people seek spiritual guidance? Why do people come to you?
I think people seek spiritual guidance for many different reasons. You know, some people it's just, it's something fun to do with their friends. Grab a group of friends together, let's go for a bit of a giggle, a bit of a laugh. Not that we see it like that, but people find, when they're there, it's very dramatic, and it's like, whoa, they're talking about your man, and they're talking about this, and they're talking about that. So people can seek it for that. People can also seek spiritual guidance when they're feeling, really down, maybe feeling at, I'm going to use that very stereotypical psychic thing of saying at a crossroads in their life. And it's very much the case. People maybe feel like they don't know quite what way to turn, and spiritual guidance can often help with that. Or it could be that someone's, they've been through a really difficult period in their life and they just need some confirmation that they're on the right path. Or equally, it could also be that someone's lost someone that's very dear to them. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So people tend to come for spiritual guidance when perhaps there is the part of having fun, because, they're with their friends and they're kind of having fun. But also, I guess a lot of people come because they're feeling unsure and they need some input. That's what they're seeking.
Yeah, absolutely. I would completely agree with that. Yeah, they just need some sort of support, some sort of help that's not their friends, their family, someone that's completely out with everything. Sometimes when we're working with people, we'll pick up on these things straight away. So it's really nice confirmation for them that they're on the right track. So yeah.
Well, I guess if people are coming to you for guidance, they're looking for some insight into their life. Is it fortune telling?
No. I say this to everybody, we're not fortune tellers at all. Any kind of spiritual work should be more about helping someone to recognise the changes that they need to make in their own life, rather than giving them an outcome of things. Because I always say to everybody, every single person on this planet has something called free will. And, if a psychic or fortune teller or whatever says to you, you are going to meet the man of your dreams this year, right? You will go out there and you will do everything in your power to make that happen. Subconsciously, you'll do it without realising it, because it's like the law of attraction. You know, what you think about, you bring about. And there's actually a part of your brain as well. I'm not going to go into the science of it, but there is a part of your brain which completely poo-poos the law of attraction, because it's a part of the brain that actually mechanizes everything in your whole being to bring these things towards you. So yeah, it's quite fascinating. So I'm very mindful of the fact that, you know, when we're working with people and when we're giving them any kind of spiritual counselling, that it's really like, so what is it you want to do? Because we're recognising that you're maybe going through this thing. What do you want to do? Because I know that everything's going to be all right, because when I look in your cup, I do see that. Or, you know, when I'm reading your cards, I see that everything's going to be okay. But I can't give you the outcome, because you might change your path. So
you use tools to help you though with when giving spiritual guidance, don't you? So just on the basis of it, fortune telling, because when you see fortune tellers, you know, and it is a little bit like that with spiritual guidance. I think, do they have a crystal ball and the cards? And do you actually need all of that, or is that just helps guide you to give the guidance?
Personally, I don't need anything to read, really. You know, I'm very, and the guys in the shop will tell you that, you know, I like to sit with the person and just feel the person's energy. I would actually prefer to be sitting blindfolded with someone, not being able to see any of their facial expressions or anything. And do you know, the whole COVID thing's been great for that, because we've not been able to read expressions on people's faces. Because, you know, being human beings, you do read expressions on people's faces, you know. And the whole COVID thing's great, because it takes away the really.
They can be cynical behind their mask. Unless you do.
I truly believe, Gina, I think that any reader on this planet should learn their trade behind a blindfold or behind some sort of screen, and just have the person coming in and just reading that person's energy without any of the visual distractions or anything like that. And I suppose tools like tarot cards and crystals, wax readings, all of these kind of things, they're really just a focal point for the reader. You know, so when you're reading these things, although things like tarot really do have a structure to them, and there's a meaning to every single card, but again, it's open to the interpretation of the person that's reading. So, you know, I may see the death card as change and inevitable change, and, you know, the person's resilience to be able to move through everything, whereas you could see the death card like, oh my god, someone's going to die, or my relationship's going to end, or whatever it may be. So it's open to interpretation.
That's interesting what you say with open to interpretation and a person reading you. So this is where it gets a bit of a grey area, where it gets a bit unclear about what the crossover is. So you get people that read you and people that are in touch with the spirit. So what's the difference between that, what a psychic and a medium? Ask the question.
Very clearly, the difference between a psychic and a medium is not reading your energy. They're not giving you any fortune telling, I suppose, if you want to call it that. They're not working on your past. They're not working on your present. They're not even working on anything that's going on in your life. A medium's job is quite simply to be that voice for the spirit world. A medium's job is to be the go-between and to prove life beyond reasonable doubt that our loved ones still exist after physical death. A psychic will sit with you and they'll pick up on your energy and they'll say things like, so Gina, I'm feeling from your energy. You know, not all psychics talk like that, right?
I've never had a psychic talk to me like that.
But they'll say things like, you know, I'm feeling from your energy that you've been feeling a bit down over these last 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it may be. They'll be able to sense colour around you. They'll be able to see things that have happened. They'll be able to see things that are coming based on the decisions that you're making now. And if you change that, that changes that. So a psychic basically is working on your energy, and a medium is working on the energy that is external to you.
Okay. So in a reading, if the person doing the reading is a psychic and a medium, I mean, what happens in your thoughts? They'll often use both of that to give the reading, a connection with the spirit world and what's reading from your energy.
Yeah, so every medium, every person who has got that ability to connect with the spirit world will be able to connect psychically, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some people that are out there working who they're very psychic, but they don't have the connection with the spirit world. So, you know, if you had a medium, we would call ourselves, I hate calling myself a psychic medium, but they would call themselves a psychic medium. And a psychic medium would be working with the spirit world and working with your energy. But the thing that's really important is that when a medium is working with your loved ones, it's vitally important that they tell you how they're working. So, and the reason for that, Gina, is because if I'm going through a really difficult time in my life, and you know, with all my trainee mediums, I'll tell them all this. If someone was going through a very difficult time in their life and they went for some sort of guidance, and that person saying, I'm a psychic medium, they'll say, you know, so Gina, I've got your great-grandmother here, or your granny here, or your mother, or your sister, or your whoever, and they're telling me that they passed away this way, blah, blah, blah. So that the evidence initially is really good. Mm-hmm. And then they start to speak about your life. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, you know, so I do see that you've been going through a bit of a difficult time. You know, I really think a change of job would be something that's really important for you, you know, and then you're thinking, well, that's my great Auntie Betty that's telling me that getting a new job would be a great thing. Mm-hmm. So what then happens is that person thinks that the spirit world are giving them the guidance to move forward, when that's not how it should be. So when I'm working with you, I should be saying, so I'm giving you the evidence of your loved one here, and I'm telling you that this person, you know, they absolutely adored you. They passed away with cancer in 1982, the month of April. She had short curly hair, she wore pearl earrings, and she had a little birthmark on the side of her face. That's evidence, right? Okay. That aside, now I want to speak about your life, Gina. So I'm just going to ask her to stand back a wee bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on how you've been feeling over the last few months. Now, this is psychic, this part of things. Okay. I would work like that, and then I would say, and your wee auntie is coming back in here, and she's just confirming, and she's just saying, you know, she's seen you going through this difficult time. Yeah. But okay. You don't say anything about it. Yeah. That's the difference. And I think it can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just going to ask about, is it often that, like, you yourself, or you find your team members do pass messages on? Because I guess that's attraction to having a reading as well, is, will I, you know, have a connection? But I guess actually, more importantly, is when you're giving the reading, you're often saying a lot of things that people are hopeful for. But you touched on it earlier. If they're looking for love, they want you to say, you're going to find the love of your life this year. Or, you know, if they're having trouble, you know, with their work or something, you give them confirmation. So it's touching on fortune telling as well. Because if you're telling someone that their current situation, this is a likely outcome, what happens when the things that you say in your reading don't come to pass?
Love it. And it can happen, you know, it absolutely can happen, because if someone sits with you for spiritual guidance and you're saying, you know, based on what I'm seeing here, you really want to make a change. And the reason that you're here today is because, you know, you are at that crossroads and you really want to make a change in your life. So my advice to you would be, like, really evaluate things, really look at things, really think about, like, where is it you want to be? And can you think of that right now? And they would say, yep, I can think of where I want to be and I know what changes I want to make. Do you know what? That's brilliant. That's great. So based on that, I think that that's where you're going. And that person will walk out feeling really, really motivated, thinking, right, I'm going to make these changes and I'm going to do these things that are going to lead me into a much better phase of life. And then life hits them back in the chops again. And the reality of the world comes back into play. And that person, they don't make those changes. And they come back and they'll say, you know, and it happens very rarely because, you know, when people come in, they're ready for change. You know, they really are ready for change. But they'll come back in when they do come back in and they'll say, oh, you know, that never happened. I was like, I didn't say it was going to happen, remember? What I said was, if you make these changes, that's where I see you.
Yeah.
However, if you don't make these changes, then it can't come to pass.
Yeah, okay. I'm surprised that people will remember because whenever I have a reading, there's so much information that, you know, unless I was writing it down or recording, I just wouldn't remember all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been a couple of things where they've said, you know, I've been told, oh, there's going to be big changes here, and then in a few months there's going to be big changes, and then I look back and I go, maybe I should have clarified what changes were going to happen because it doesn't feel like anything's changed. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's the key thing, though. You know, is when you're having any kind of spiritual guidance, it's so important that, you know, both the reader and the sitter are very clear on what that person needs to go and change.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll reiterate it when I'm reading people. I'll say, so, you know, are you going to go and make these changes? And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? Send me a wee message and let me know. And most of the time, people will message me back and say, oh my God, I'm so glad I've done that, Stephen. I wished I'd done it years ago. You know, we'll get messages from the other members of the team as well who have worked with people, because we all work very similarly, and people will message back and say, can you thank them so much for helping with this and helping with that? And, you know, it's wonderful. Yeah. But I suppose people want the quick fix. You know, it's like what we were speaking about yesterday with Kenny. We can order takeaway quickly, it comes straight to our phone, or we can order it quickly straight from our phone. We can do all these things so fast these days, and people just want to know, is this going to be the case? Is this going to work out? You know, we get people often asking us things like, is my man cheating on me? Or honestly, can I trust my friend? Can I, you know? And we would always say that isn't for us to even speak about, you know.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to ask you in the same area was, do you want people to give you information, or do you prefer that they don't give you any, you know, they just let you tell them, you know, rather than saying, oh, I'm here because, you know, I've had this problem in my life and I really want some insight into it? Does that help, or does that cause problems to the reader?
Sometimes we need to ask people to expand on things because, you know, I'll give you a great example of it. And I was working with a girl last year, and she, when I was doing her reading, I'd said to her, you know, I'm seeing this really complicated situation where, you know, it looks like there's 3 people in your relationship. And she was, yeah, just these yes or no answers. And I'm like, do you understand why? And she's like, right, you're going to have to expand on it a wee bit here because I don't know why I'm seeing these three people. And she was like, well, it makes complete sense because my my husband is divorcing from his ex-wife. There's lots of communication going on between them right now. You know, we all had to sit in a room together and we're speaking about stuff, speaking about the kids, speaking about, you know, so it made absolute sense. And I was, you know, I wasn't going to labour on that. I was just saying, you know, so that's why I'm seeing the three people and it's causing friction. Whereas if I hadn't have said that, expand on that, that lady might have went away thinking that her husband was having an affair.
Yes, because that's the thing I jumped to. Like, oh no, what have you uncovered here?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I think it's important that we do ask people to open up a little bit. You know, we're not going to labour on it. We're not going to, you know, it's not in our interest to know information about people. You know, it's in our interest to help them and support them with spiritual guidance. You know, we're not interested in getting 100 yeses, and you know, for us it's more about how the person's walking away feeling rather than how accurate we are.
Well, I have to say, I've had a few friends that almost they like want to catch the readers out. Don't tell them anything. You know, let's see if they get it right. And I feel that that's missing the point.
Yeah, isn't
it? So you're when people come through a spiritual guidance, they're not there to catch the reader out. That's of no interest to the reader. This is what I'm getting from you. It's more, it's for them. So, I mean, I guess the readers do get things wrong, you know, on the same sort of topic as when things come to pass. Does that happen? How common is it that you'll say something in a reading and the person will go, no. Does that happen often? I can imagine that would be perhaps for a reading, they would think, well, they'll just get me wrong completely. Is that common?
We get people say no a lot, and sometimes what can happen, and it's so frustrating for us at the time because we're like, this is what I'm seeing, but they'll go away because they usually come in with groups of friends or whatever, and the person comes back in 5 minutes after everybody else is away and says, by the way, I could take everything that you were saying there, I just didn't want to say in front of my friends. We're like, or sometimes it is just that, you know, we don't make a connection with that person, and it's vitally important, you know, if we're giving someone that information and they're saying no, it's vitally important that in the first 5 minutes of reading we can establish that and say, do you know what, this isn't working, there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with you, there's just no point in continuing with something if you're no understanding what I'm saying. You know, I don't want to sit here and bullshit you. And they don't want to be bullshitted. Yeah. We'll get things like people taking their rings off as well, you know, ridiculous stuff like that. You know, and it's really funny because just before Christmas, a lady had came in and she'd taken her ring off and she was sitting, and Claire said to her, you can put your ring back on now, darling. The woman was like,
So I had a reading with my sister Becca, Becca's like my best friend, we're so close. And she was there with her little daughter River as a baby bouncing on her knee. And we were having a reading, and I think it's because we're so close, but things that she was being told, I was sitting at the other side of the table going, that sounds more like me. And Becca's going, no, I don't know what you, no. And I'm going, and then it happened the other way around as well. So I think I was being read, but I was going, no. And Becca's the other side going, yeah.
That happens. It happens a lot. You know, when people come in with their loved ones, because people are so close. You know, it can be that we're sitting for reading something in someone's cup, and it's actually for the person sitting next to you. So it's really common. But as long as we can place where the information is, you know, I've seen us sitting in the shop sometimes, and Claire will come over and she'll be like, Stephen, can hold on a wee second. Can any of you two understand David in the spirit world who had lung cancer or whatever? And the people at the table are like, or vice versa. I'll shout over, Claire, can you understand that? That it's about placing the information where it needs to be.
Yeah, that's good. And also more conversations when you leave the shop as well. You go, oh, wow, they picked up that.
Yeah.
Talking about you just said there, obviously someone's there and they're wanting a connection with a loved one. And I guess the reader on the other side of the room might make the connection. But what if someone, as the question says, they want a connection, it doesn't happen, because people will come in there with such high hope they're going to make a connection with someone who maybe passed recently. That must be quite a difficult situation to navigate.
I don't think it's difficult. I think it's very easy to be really honest and say, this isn't working today. I'm not making a connection with who you want to speak to. Doesn't mean that they're not there. It could mean a whole host of things. It could mean that I'm not the right person. I always say, as above, so below. And the rest of the team in the shop will agree with that as well. If in life I did not like you, I probably wouldn't want to speak to you as a spirit person. Like, she's a bit of a fanny. I don't really want to talk to her. And it's exactly, sorry Gina, that's terrible, but it's exactly the same for the spirit world. They might see me as a bit of a plonker, so they might not want to work with me. Whereas they might look at Claire or Siobhan or April or any of the other guys that work in the shop as I really like that girl, so I want to speak to her, and I want her to be the go-between between my communication and the communication of my loved one.
Yeah.
Because if it was me, Gina, I don't know about you, but if it was me and I passed away tomorrow and I wanted to give a message to my family, I would want someone who was given real empathy, who was kind, who was caring, who was a really lovely person. But if I thought they were a bit of a dickhead, I didn't want them giving a message to my family.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I totally agree. Because I've had a personal experience with that with my brother John, who passed, and he actually, one of your team members, April, keeps coming through to April, and April keeps saying, every time I see her, she's like, he keeps speaking to me back. I don't know what it is he wants me to tell you, and I don't know why he keeps coming to me. And that makes sense. April's so lovely, and caring, and I can totally see why, exactly what you're saying there, why they would choose to go to someone over someone else. It's about personalities and who they like, and that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely, because if you were to meet, I don't know, just say you were to go for a reading, I don't know, you're in Blackpool and you're walking along the pier, you see the wee fortune teller hut, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go for a reading, and you go in and the person's like, what do you want? Chances are, right, that your loved ones are going to be like, this guy's a plonker. So I don't want to talk to them. And your reading's going to be really rubbish.
Okay,
so I think it's important that you connect with the person that is reading with you, or reading for you, and it's important that you understand that who you want to come through or who you expect to come through would connect with that person.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think something you touched on, which is really, really important, is honesty. People are coming in and they need to be able to trust you and what you're saying. And if a loved one isn't coming through, then being honest and is it's integral to reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think honesty is probably the most fundamental part of doing any kind of spiritual work. if we are honest about what we're feeling, what we're sensing, what we're seeing, and if we're honest about the fact that if our emotional intelligence is ringing alarm bells and we're thinking, I don't want to read this person, it's vitally important that we pay attention to that. And the guys in the shop will tell you, we all vibe with certain people, and there's some people that we sit down with and we're just like, I'm just no feeling you. I'm just no getting it. And there's nothing that you've said or done, or it doesn't feel right. And then usually when we swap over, the person gets a fantastic reading, so it's vitally important. And I say this to the guys as well, if you're not getting it, like, walk away. There's no point in.
Yeah, that makes, and one of the questions we talked about, that is really important to bring up, is that you ever say no to someone if they want a reading, why? What would be the reason?
We say no to people actually more than you think. We have people coming in who are maybe very vulnerable. They've maybe lost someone very recently, and it's not right to mess around with someone's emotional well-being when they are so vulnerable. That's why I'm not anti-online reading, all right? I'm not. But I think when you are doing readings for people online, you're not able to sit and see and feel how that person feels with the information. So for me, I think any kind of spiritual guidance and counselling should always be done face-to-face on Zoom or in person. Anyway, I go down a leafy lane with that, but I think it's important to say. And I think it's also so important to be very honest and say, this is not the right time to do this for you today. I think you need more. And that's why I'm delighted about our new service at the shop as well, because not only are we giving readings to people who need it, for the people who don't need it and we know they need more, we've actually now got a grief and bereavement counsellor in the form of Susan.
Brilliant.
So Susan will, and it's absolutely free, all of the services that she's doing around grief and bereavement, it's absolutely free. So basically what we would do is when it doesn't feel right and when we have to say no to people, we would then give them a free consultation with Susan to be able to work on the pain and the adjustment of loss, rather than just taking 30 quid off someone and giving them a reading that actually could be more painful or more damaging than.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So, I didn't know about Susan. I was aware that Susan was now offering us that service, but I didn't realise that she's joined up with the Soul Man shop to be part of and provide that as well. I think that's amazing, because and especially at the moment with COVID, there's a lot of people feeling a lot of pain and hurt and loss. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic service.
Yeah, it is really, really good, and I think for us it's that safety net when people come in, and it might not be grief or bereavement counselling, it might just be that they need to see someone for some sort of support and help, and Susan can signpost them to all the relevant charities, all the relevant support networks that are out there to help people with their mental health, because it's not always that someone's bereaved, it's sometimes that someone is mentally unwell, and we would use our emotional intelligence and we would be able to say when things don't feel right. And we are in the process, we're very we're rolling it out right throughout 2021. But by the end of 2021, all of our team will be mental health first aid trained as well.
Perfect. That's amazing. Amazing. So that you're doing that with June.
Yeah. I actually do the manager supervisor course in February, and then we're going to roll it out and do 1 or 2 team members every month right throughout 2021. So, which I think is vitally important, because people need to realise when they're coming for a reading that they may not be in the right place. So, yeah.
On that note, have you ever done readings, or do you readings where information might come through, or you pick up on something? So most of them are, most of their reading is good, but then you pick up on something that's quite maybe dark or unsettling or worrying. What do you do with that information? Do you pass it on, or do you hold it, or do you signpost them to other help? Or
I think it depends. I think it depends on absolutely everything to do with that reading. It depends on, by that point you should have been able to assess the person and how they're able to understand the information that you've given them. So by the end of it, you'll know, you could say something like, if I was seeing something really dark, I would say, maybe you need to be looking at this area of your life, because I do feel that there's some changes needed there. But I think you'll know that, because most of the time people will know it. If we're seeing it, it's in their present, So I don't think it's something that it really jumps out. I think it's a progression right throughout the reading,
Okay.
When someone's experiencing something that is quite tough and dark and difficult, usually it doesn't come from a thunderbolt out of the blue. It's usually something that's threaded through the reading. So I don't know if that helps your question.
I often wonder, because people's lives are good and bad. So not everyone has bad all the way through. So I just wondered, someone who generally has quite a good life, but also feels something quite painful and if it how you would approach that. But as you say, you would assess how they are in themselves and whether they're able to cope with that information. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's what's always going on behind the reader's head, is like, is this, we're always assessing the person and feeling like, is this information relevant, and is it going to be supportive and helpful to the person? So, yeah.
So someone's been for a reading, they've gone through, had a really good reading, or maybe not, as we just said. How do people feel after a reading? What do they go away feeling and thinking? And what's your
for most people, or for, I would say 99.9% of the people that come through our doors, we always make sure that person's enjoyed their reading. So we'll always say, how is it for you? Did you enjoy it? And blah, blah, blah. And usually they're like, oh, I feel so much lighter now. I feel like I've got more focus. I feel like I know where I'm going. It's been great confirmation of all the things that I've been thinking about, that type of thing. And for the people who haven't had a reading and haven't been able to be read, those people will usually say, thank you so much, I respect you so much for being really honest and saying no.
Yeah.
Rather than just sitting there going, what a load of shite, there's my tenner.
Yeah, they got what they came for, whether they realised it or not.
Yeah, and and Claire and I and all the rest of the team say, people always get what they need, not what they want. So usually when things feel uncomfortable, it's facilitating change. And people are really feeling like, actually, I feel a bit uncomfortable that you've said that to me, but you're right. Yeah, dickhead. That's usually how it goes. Because we're sometimes saying things that the rest of the family have been going, you know, because when we're reading someone, they're going, no, don't he understand that? And then everybody else is like,
yeah.
so, yeah.
No, right. So I guess in that case, like, is spiritual guidance for everyone?
No,
Oh,
absolutely not.
really?
I know that sounds crazy, but I would say, you know, if you have got that mentality of this isn't going to work for me, it's not going to work for you. You know, we'll try, we'll do our best, and 9 times out of 10, when we have someone who comes in who's quite sceptical, it's very easy to turn that around. But it's not a nice way to work for us. So, you know, I would say, you know, if it's not something that you even want to do, and you just want to come along for the sake of coming along and seeing what we get, I would say, you know, it's not for you. What's the point? You know, it's like, I didn't want to get my hair dyed pink and my eyelashes tinted and makeup tattooed on my lips, you know. So why would I go and do it? Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I do, because it's in a way, it's asking people to be open to things about their life, and if they don't want to be open, then you can't make them. It's a decision they have to make for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting, because I thought you were going to say, yes, it's for everyone. It's actually
no.
Yeah.
And I would say as well that people under the age of 18 as well, we kind of have a bit of a rule where we say, you know, we won't read for people under the age of 18. Mm-hmm. And again, that's the whole online thing as well. It's very easy for people to pretend that they're older and they're not, and you know, that side of things can go wrong as well. But I think people under the age of 18, because they're so easily influenced.
Yeah, I was going to ask if they might take things literally, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's the danger of you saying something which is taken in the using life experience basically that they don't have yet. They're young.
Yeah, and that's not to discount young people at all, because we would say, you know, and we do get people. Pardon me, we do get people coming along and saying, you know, I'd like to bring my daughter for a reading. She's very responsible, or like to bring my son for a reading. Very responsible young person, but I want to be there, and we would agree to that, because that's us working with a young person and the parent, and we're usually 9 times out of 10 will identify what's going on with that young person straight away, and it's more about like, so what is it you want to change, and you know, because I think that you've got a brilliant talent there, or I think that you could do really well in this or really well in that, and I think it's just working with that young person and their parent or their caregiver, rather than sitting with a very vulnerable young person and giving them information that could potentially make them go and change their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a good example of that as well, and I want to touch on that, is not with us at the Soul Man and Friends, but there was a situation a few years ago that I had to deal with, and someone had came in for a reading, and not a young person, but someone who was vulnerable.
Okay.
And that person, the reader hadn't picked up on it, and that's why for me it's so vital that our readers are picking up when it's all right to say no. And what that person done is the day after their reading, they got on the first flight to Canada, and went over to Canada, weren't able to get into the country because they hadn't applied for any visas or anything like that. So they were then put in holding cells for the next 72 hours until they were able to be sent back, you know. And it ruined their life.
Oh.
So for me, it's vitally important, or it didn't ruin their whole life, but it ruined that part of their life. They thought, this person's telling me to go to Canada, so I need to go.
Yeah, so they took something that could have been said in a way of, you perhaps travel, explore more, I'm getting Canada, then they translate that as a literal, I have to go to Canada, I should get, yeah. So it's really important to be aware of the person, where they're at when you read them.
Mm-hmm. That's I'm just having a wee look at the comments there. That's Claire saying, and she's absolutely right. That a lot of young people are highly spiritual beings too, and we've noticed that. And I'm sure Claire will agree that there's so many young people that are very, very, very gifted.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Sometimes it's helping them to realise that as well. Which can then spark off a spiritual path for them, as well as keeping their life in the 3D, because we don't want people to just go down the rabbit hole of the spiritual path. It's important that, they still have their life, but they can be learning the spiritual practices as well. And I know that's how Claire works and reads, and I know that's how everybody else in the team reads. We would recognise these things and say, this is something that you could do in your part-time, or this is something that you could be learning out with.
Yeah. I think you're totally right what you say about the Soul Man team. Everyone is so empathetic and aware of the people in the shop, and it's a really safe place to be. So I say that for everyone, including my husband, who has come into the shop and just says what a really nice, safe space it is to be. And I think that's a wonderful foundation for giving spiritual guidance. If the foundation is they're helping people feel secure, then and that comes from yourself and the team that create that. Yeah, I think it's really nice.
That's how it should be. We are Scotland's spiritual hub, and people should come in and feel really looked after and feel healed when they walk back out the doors.
Yeah, I agree, because I've been in there working with you, and there's been people that just come in for a cuppa. They just want to just sit and have a cuppa and just soak the atmosphere up, and why not? I mean, like a little energy charge for your day.
Yeah, it's lovely. Obviously, COVID kind of changes that a wee bit now, but it's lovely that people feel that they can just come in and just sit and chill. And we're not a cafe, we're not a coffee shop, so there's always a free cup of tea for everybody at the Soul Man and Friends. So people can come in, they can sit, they can have a cup of tea, they can read a magazine, read a book, and just soak up the energy, and they can go away without even paying. We only charge for our time in the shop. We certainly don't charge for tea at all. So,
in a way, in itself, that's a little bit of spiritual guidance. They come in to soak the atmosphere up and just to center themselves a little bit. A day, yeah.
Some people just need to sit and soak it up and walk away and feel, that was great. And I think the fact that we give free tea as well is always a good thing.
Yeah, no, a free cuppa.
People will sit there after the readings and they're like, "Oh, I owe you for 2 cups of tea as well," and we're like, "You didn't pay for tea. It's totally fine. You're only paying for our time reading you, which is great."
That's brilliant. So spiritual guidance can basically help anyone in any area of their life. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, they need to be open to it, but spiritual guidance is there as a tool for life, really.
Yeah. I always say to everybody, people people come for a reading when they need to come for a reading. And I've had people, my friends, for example, ever since I was 5 years old, my friends would call me Psychic Steve and Spooky Steve. And, because when I was very young, I was experiencing all these things as well, so, and I was really open with my friends and they would take the piss out of me. And right through adulthood, they still think that I've got a mental health problem.
Okay.
Most of my friends, until they need spiritual guidance themselves. And I think every one of my friends from my childhood has actually came to me and said, Stephen, I really need a reading.
Okay.
And I think it's when people really need it, and it does, it sets them up and it moves them forward. So
yeah. I think you're completely right there. For myself, whenever I come for a reading is when I really need it. And you always get what I'm looking for. Although I remember once going for a reading thinking I really need some insight. And the reading was, everything's really lovely for you. I was like, oh. And then actually I went away thinking, okay, it's actually just my perspective. They were right in reading. Everything is really lovely for me. It was just my perspective. So I got what I was looking for then as well. So the guidance I needed, even though I didn't think it was going to be in the way I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, some people were like everything's great in your life, and they're like, oh no, but I've just got this wee niggling thing, and it's something that's big to them, but from our perspective, it's not really a big issue.
Yeah, and I guess that's why they come there for someone to say it's not a big issue. Look at all this wonderful good stuff.
So we'll throw it out in the last 5 minutes for questions, Gina, will we? If anybody's got any questions.
Yeah.
So feel free to ask away, guys, if you've got any questions that you would like to ask whilst you're watching.
Do I get to see this question?
Yeah, they'll jump up on the screen.
Okay. Just figuring that out. This new technology. It's all exciting.
There's Catherine Hepplewhite saying amazing atmosphere in the shop.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's because my husband says we come back from being in the shop. Well, when we were able to, he said I would always be buzzing. I was always in a really good mood. Like yeah, it's like a little injection.
That's what it is though. Like, see, for us in the shop, imagine working there.
You're all high.
Ascension vibes the whole day. It's crazy. We actually walk out like spiritually pissed. It's crazy.
Everyone's always smiling in the shop. Everyone is always in such good feeling. So Gillian Johnson asked, what's the best way to get in touch with the spiritual side? That's a good question.
So I would say find a great teacher. And it may be that you go to your local spiritualist church because they have open awareness circles. It may be that you do find a good teacher. We do have the Soul Man Academy. I'm not here to sell anything to anybody, but we've got a couple of great courses just now. Introduction to tarot cards. We're just about to pop up a new course today, which is an introduction to reading angel cards, because a lot of people were asking that. I want to read cards, but I didn't want to read tarot, so we'll be popping that up. We've also got a tea leaf reading course, level 1, that's coming up as well in the next couple of weeks. And we've had lots of people already doing them and really love the just being able to learn, so you could come with us, you could go with anybody else, so yeah.
Okay.
If that helps.
Yeah, I mean, the courses, not to do a too much of a spin, but the courses are really good. Having partaked in them with helping, you know, being like your tea leaf readers, trainee tea leaf readers, I have reading done by them, and they're just brilliant. So yeah, big kudos to the Soulman Academy. So Anne asks, is there a time scale as to how long between readings? That's a good question. Yeah. You know, could you get a reading every week, or would you recommend every 6 months?
Yeah, it just really depends because, you know, I always say to people that if someone comes in and they have a really good reading and they've had most of the things that they wanted answered, they probably don't need another reading for a wee while. But what they'll usually do is, because they have such a good experience, they'll go away and they'll tell their friends, they'll come back with their friends, they'll say, I'm not having a reading today, I'm just here to nosy. And it's just, that's usually the case. People will always feel quite satisfied, and then we'll maybe see them again 6 months later. One of the great things about our business is that most of our customers every day are brand new customers.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
And then we do see, you know, those other customers that have been before coming back with different friends. Yeah, so I would say you don't really. Most people it would be 6 months. Some people it's a year. Some people come every month. What we would do though is if I'd seen someone and I was like, right, that person was here a few weeks ago, I'm not going to read them today. Claire's going to read them.
Okay. Yeah.
Then Claire and I both say 4 weeks later, we both read that person. So and so's going to read them. So that person, what they've done is they've usually by that point they'll say to us, you know, it's brilliant because I got a brilliant message from you, and then I got a brilliant message from Claire which confirmed what you'd said but gave me a bit more, and then I got a brilliant message from this other person which confirmed that and gave me more than that. So that person's had what they've needed out of those 3 readings or whatever. If it was someone that was coming every 2 or 3 weeks, we would be saying it's not really the right time for you to come back.
Yeah.
You know, if it was all the time, we would just be really honest. But what we have found is that people go from that they'll maybe come to us and then they'll get another reading online, and they'll get a reading from another local medium, and you know, it's some people are addicted to readings, I suppose. But
Yeah.
we're very, very mindful of the fact that we wouldn't allow people to be there all the time, getting readings all the time. We would say, this isn't right.
No. It can become, they then are dependent on the reading to make decisions in their lives, and that's when it starts to get messy. They're not making decisions themselves, which is ultimately what they should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's another.
Okay, Johan Ormiston, when will you be starting training courses? Oh, okay, so you touched on that a little bit before, but so you've got the is it tea leaf reading or tarot cards, and you got the angel card?
So we've got the tarot level 1, which is a beginner's course for 4 weeks, which just basically introduces you to the tarot, the history of the tarot, goes through the major arcana, the minor arcana, all of that. The angel card reading, because angel cards are quite different from tarot, is a different kettle of fish altogether, but they've been around as long as tarot cards, would you believe? It's crazy.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that. They think that angel cards are really new, and they've been around for a long time, just in a very different form. And we've got the tea leaf course as well, which is a 4-week course, and they all start, those 3 start on the 24th and the 25th of January. And for the tarot one, there's a special offer. You're getting 20% off it now, and a free deck of Rider-Waite tarot cards.
I'm
not selling it, I promise. I'm no.
I study with the Soul Man Academy, and I'm a big supporter. It's brilliant. So yeah. Do if you want to do it, book a place on one of the courses. They are fantastic. Right. Oh, we have a question from Jane. Jane is actually one of the visiting therapists at Soul Man. She says, "Do you have your own spirit guides that bring messages through, Stephen?"
Yes, I do. So I've got Gina and Mark. Gina has been around since 1855.
Wow.
She's an old. I'm only joking.
Wow.
I do have spirit guides. Obviously, everybody has some form of influencer or guide or helper in the spirit world. However, I'm not necessarily aware of who they are. I don't have someone talking on my shoulder. I am a soul in a physical body, so there's no reason to have a go-between or a middleman or a gatekeeper or anything like that for me. My perception is that I should be able to connect with another soul because I am a soul in a meat suit. However, I am very aware of three people who stand one side of me, one the other side, and one at the back of me. And they're just there for support, really, I think. And I do believe that they're family members. And so,
do you know which family members, or I just know that they're from your family?
I don't know. I just get this feeling that these people are from my family, that they love me and they want to look after me. So
that's nice. Right. Well, Gillian says, "I seen you on January last year, and you were spot on. I want to join the Soul Man Academy."
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. No, thank you. Yeah. It's doing the sales pitch for you. Definitely. I've learned so much from the courses I've done with Soul Man friends. Yeah, I have as well. It's been really helpful in my personal development as well as spiritual development. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you very much.
Well, I really enjoyed today. I've learned loads. Well, it's because it is a topic that people do have questions about. Why would I go? What would I get? Is it worth it? And I think a lot today. It's been really, really good picking your brains.
Yeah, it's been good chatting. I seem to know quite a bit. Eh? I'm like, I never actually knew that all that information would come. It's just quite natural, I suppose. But I think the one thing that I want to say, though, doing this live feed today, and it's such an important thing to say, and that is how absolutely grateful I am for my amazing friends that make up the Soul Man and Friends team. Without those guys, nothing would be possible. And that goes for everybody who's part of the Soul Man and Friends. It's our team who read. It's yourself, Gina, who helps with some of the marketing stuff, some of the acting role that you have behind the scenes as well. So Gina does a lot of the acting work for the Soul Man Academy and our recruitment process as well.
It's fun doing at the minute.
But like without the amazing people that make up the Soul Man and Friends, it wouldn't be what it is. And I think that's the most important thing. It's not about me. It's about all these amazing people who are just pieces of that beautiful jigsaw puzzle that make it what it is today. Scotland Spiritual Hub.
Yeah. It's a fantastic community, and one I feel so grateful to be part of. There's so many beautiful, wonderful people part of the Soul Man and Friends. So yeah.
You really do feel like you're part of a family, though, don't you? When whether it be that you're part of the academy, part of the team, whatever it is, and I think it's so important. That was always my dream, for people to feel like they're part of a family. So,
I think we'll achieve it.
I think so. It's great. So yeah, I think that's us at time as well, Gina. We've read like 7 minutes over as well.
Oh, okay, that's doing good. Considering I've only had 5 hours sleep, that's really good. So
Gina was out last night doing a Bollywood movie. She was acting in a Bollywood movie. So I'm just gonna say that right now that Gina is shattered. And she's still here.
I need my cup. There you go, another plug.
Mine's is a Mickey Mouse Soul Man cup. I should really have my Soul Man merchandise here, eh? It's terrible.
You're a marketing person.
So, yeah, thank you so much for doing that though, Gina, and interviewing me today.
Loved it. I've enjoyed this so much. I found out so much as well. So wonderful. Great.
So I'll let you close us and stay there as well, because obviously once the credits roll, then we stay behind for a wee chat, don't we?
We
do. So I'll let you close and say goodbye.
All right. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you for being part of the Soul Man Surgery today, everyone. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9:30. And tomorrow we have
Danielle Farrell from Luna Life. So Danielle's one of my meditation teachers. She just recently qualified on her level 1 meditation teacher training, and she's now doing level 2. So she's going to be on tomorrow speaking about that and how being part of the academy has really helped. But she's also going to be speaking about some of her stuff as well. And she was shortlisted the last time for coming on. However, we just never got to her in time. There was so many people that we wanted to see, and we just never got to them. So we're seeing Danielle tomorrow, then Susan on Friday.
Brilliant.
And we've got you next week as well, Gina, next Wednesday.
Yes, I'll be here to talk about a few things, including my cobalt moon crystal, and also to talk about my part with the Soul Man Academy too, and of course I'm doing with that as well. So
amazing.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow with Danielle. She's lovely, and Susan is amazing as always. Absolutely love Susan's surgeries. So this is exciting. Lots of things coming.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you, everybody. And I will see you tomorrow with the lovely Danielle. Be strong.